Hey guys, Nick here for Rev3 Games, and last week I got to play the first 90 minutes of Pokémon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire on the Nintendo 3DS. Now for those who don't know, Alpha and Omega are remakes of the third generation of Pokémon games that were available back on the Game Boy Advance. And when those games came out, I was about, 13 years old and probably at the very height of my Pokémon hype as a kid. So I was more than a little excited to get the chance to go back and explore it a couple days ago. I came away very surprised and actually pretty impressed at how much has changed from the original game to these remakes. So first things first, let's talk about the graphics. Now this game is running off the Pokémon X and Y engine, meaning that this is the second mainline Pokémon installment to be presented in full 3D with full polygonal graphics, and the result is actually really gorgeous. The game world is vibrant and beautiful thanks in no small part to the setting. Unlike the urban city-like region of Kalos from X and Y, Hoenn is a lush, outdoorsy setting packed full of wilderness and other greenery, making the game just full of these rich, bright, deeply saturated colors. The detail is startling. The overworld is riddled with all these small touches, including you can notice the grass sort of blowing in the wind, the flowers move around, you can see reflections in the water, which is a pretty big part of the game, just like you remember from the first game. It's just very pastel, colorful, floral, and just really, really nice to look at is what I'm saying. And personally, I find it vastly preferable to the comparatively gray and drab world of X and Y. Now because this is running on the same engine as Pokémon X and Y, it carries a few of the same restrictions that X and Y had, specifically the fact that the game world is once again not available in 3D using the 3DS's depth slider. Now the restrictions actually vary a lot from moment to moment in the game. Just like last time though, single battles are in 3D whereas double battles are 2D, and many of the cutscenes are in 3D, as is the scene where you select your first starter Pokémon. Unfortunately, just like in X and Y, you'll also experience a pretty substantial frame rate dip when battling in 3D sometimes, meaning that just like in X and Y, I'll probably end up playing through this one mostly in 2D. Now because I played the game starting from the very beginning, that's going to be the stuff that I'm best equipped to talk about today, but luckily the differences are countless and range from the obvious to the subtle. Once you start a new game, it actually begins exactly the same way the original games did, with the original pixelated 2D sprite of Professor Birch popping up and explaining, who he is, what Pokemon are, all that normal stuff. But after a few seconds, the camera begins to pull back and reveal that this is actually a first-person view from the perspective of the protagonist character, and that everything you just saw was happening on the screen of a handheld game system being held by the character who, as you may know, is playing the game while in the back of the family's moving truck who is moving to this new town and this new home. It's this unexpected little meta touch that is pretty un-Nintendo-y in a lot of ways and got a pretty big smile out of me the first time. From there, it's pretty much the same intro that you've come to expect from playing the original games, but of course all of this is in 3D, so everything is being rendered polygonally, from the Machokes who help your family move their luggage into the apartment, to the sort of little details in your family's home, some of which have actually been upgraded. So, for instance, the clock on your bedroom wall now sets itself automatically, and the GameCube in your bedroom is now, of course, a Wii U with a gamepad next to it. One other fun detail, the female trainer has this huge plush Lapras in her bedroom, whereas the male trainer has a giant Snorlax, which I thought was just a cute little touch. Likewise, the soundtrack is completely redone, so for instance, in the starting town, you're treated to this really nice acoustic guitar and flute version of the original Little Root Town music, which was lovely and just super nostalgia-inducing for me. Now in terms of the actual gameplay, you'll notice right away that it feels unsurprisingly a lot like X and Y. You can hold B to sprint from the very start of the game, and once again, the game no longer snaps you to that sort of horizontal and vertical grid unless you're moving around using the D-pad. Some of the most substantial changes, though, come in the form of 3 new apps that appear on the bottom screen of your 3DS. The first one, Area Nav, is a built-in interactive mini-map, a much-needed one in my opinion, that is on the bottom of your screen and shows the entire region. Not only does this show your location, actually, it also lets you read up on specific areas you visited, Pokemon you've found in specific places, a list of all the different trainers you've defeated, berry locations, and secret bases. The second app, Buzz Nav, is a little bit more passive, but basically gives you a real-time update on events that are happening in your game. So for example, you might get a Buzz Nav alert saying something like, on Route 105, there's a big outbreak of Pikachus or something like that, and you can run over there and try to catch some. The third app, and the one that I think is the most significant, is Dex Nav. Now, Dex Nav is a versatile tool that is primarily useful for hunting down specific Pokemon that you've already obtained. The Nintendo rep I spoke to about it referred to it as selective battling. Basically, what happens is when you're in an area, you'll see silhouettes at the bottom of the screen of all the Pokemon in the region that you're walking around, but any Pokemon you've caught already get filled in as a full sprite. If you've caught a Pokemon already and want to catch another one of it, so for example, let's say you're trying to find one with very specific stats for multiplayer, you just press that Pokemon on the touchscreen and Dex Nav begins searching the area for any that are nearby. If it finds one, and this is the really crazy part, you'll see a Pokemon tail pop out of the tall grass, and using this circle pad, you have to slowly, gently sneak up on the Pokemon and grab it. If you succeed at doing this, you will enter into just a standard Pokemon battle with it and can catch it, fight it, kill it, whatever you want to do. As if that's not incentive enough, the Pokemon that you catch via Dex Nav will have an extra move that they otherwise would not normally learn. So for example, early in the game, I caught a Poochyena who had Ice Fang from the moment I caught him, which is like not a normal thing for a Poochyena to learn. This can backfire though. Because it replaces an existing move, it can take up a move that you really need. So early in the game, I caught a Zigzagoon who had learned Charm instead of Tackle, and so his only 3 moves were Charm, Growl, and Tail Whip, meaning that he was completely unable to deal damage in battles and was basically useless in my party. At any rate though, this is an interesting system that adds some variety by basically turning Pokemon into a stealth game, albeit a very, very simple one. Oh, and one last note about Dex Nav. While you're using it, you can still get encounters via tall grass. So let's say you enter into a random encounter with another Pokemon while you're sneaking up on your Dex Nav target. The Pokemon that you were sneaking up on will disappear and you will lose your chance to get it. Now, the bottom screen applications that you remember from X and Y, the player search system, super training, and Pokémon Amie, all 3 of those have been grouped together into one app to save space. And by booting up that app, I believe it's called the Play Nav app, you can access any one of those features at any time, just like in X and Y. So obviously one of the big components of these remakes is the addition of Mega Evolution, and while I didn't get far enough in my playthrough to encounter that stuff myself, Nintendo hinted that it factors pretty heavily into some new additional plot elements in the game. Specifically the appearance of a mysterious Mega Rayquaza, which really, if you remember, didn't show up until Emerald, so I think they plan on explaining, hopefully, how that came together. But while we are talking about character designs, I think it needs to be said that the animation in this game is lovely. Because all the characters are rendered in full 3D, everyone from your rival to Birch to Wally just have these huge, super expressive faces that add a ton of personality to the characters. The same can be said for all the Pokemon designs, of course, as well. So for example, I chose Torchic as my starter Pokemon, and the way that Torchic would attack an enemy in the middle of a battle and then turn around and just like scramble back to his post was really awesome and super endearing. Again, it is the details, I think, that make these games what they are and what makes them so special. Lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about my absolute favorite addition to X and Y, which was Pokémon Amie, and once again, every creature in this game is fully feedable and pettable and mini-game play-withable, and man, if it isn't a great showcase for how cute some of those early Gen 3 Pokemon are. Torchic and Poochyena were both overwhelmingly adorable in the time I spent petting them, and I actually learned something I didn't know before when petting the Lotad that I caught, which is that Lotad apparently has a mouth underneath his like yellow beak bill thing, which was news to me. I'm sure people who watch the anime are not surprised by that, but to me I was like, honestly, it kind of freaked me out a little bit to find out he had a mouth under there. Anyways, I could go on forever about weird little specific things I noticed in this game, but overall it just feels like a really good love letter to fans of Gen 3, and I think there are a lot of fans of Gen 3 out there, myself included. If you have any questions about anything that I played about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you can leave them in the comments below or send them to me via Twitter. I'm @Babylonian over there, and I'll do my best to answer all of your queries. In the meantime, though, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on November 21st when the game hits store shelves. Adios!
Any longtime fan of Borderlands can tell you the series is composed of 3 main things: a sarcastic, witty sense of humor, lots and lots of shooting, and more loot than any one person could ever feasibly need. It's safe to say the pre-sequel continues that tradition, putting its own spin on the franchise, making players